And we are live. Hello, everyone who has stopped by to watch Art Joy Sharing live stream today. We're glad you're here. If you're watching this on recording, we're also glad you're here. And we are going to be talking about stencils today. And I'm going to be making a stencil, and then we're going to talk about different techniques and tips with stencils. So, what do you have over there, Peg?
Good morning, everyone. We're glad you're joining us. I see that we have a few in the audience already. Good morning, Ian and Belinda. Yes, I am just going to play with stencils and, a few different techniques. I don't really have a whole lot in mind other than showing you what you can do with stencils, because let's face it, they are one of your go-to tools when it comes to making art, or at least for me, they are. I enjoy using them a lot. I pick them up with just about every page that I do. And there are a lot of great techniques, mixed media especially, for stenciling. So,
Absolutely. Good morning, Cheryl. Cheryl has joined us.
hi, Cheryl. How's the
So what
sound
I
this morning, guys? Everything working for you?
Good question. We always seem to have a little bit of weirdness every time we do a live stream. So on my desk, I have started, um, you know, there's stencils everywhere. There's so many companies that are making them. You can buy them, everywhere from Walmart and Tuesday Morning to online at Stencil Girl or places like that. But if you don't have access to those type of places, or you don't have enough money to buy a bunch of stencils to start out with, you can always make your own. And so I decided, since I've been requested on my other channel many times to show this, I'm going to make a stencil. What I did was I made a loose drawing, and then I drew it in black, and I have it taped down to a piece of glass. This used to have my gel plate on it, but now I have a plexiglass one for that. So I use this for cutting. Then as far as plastics, I'm going to be using these dollar store index dividers. I got 8 of them in a pack at the dollar store, and they're just a thin plastic like this. And I've made a ton of stencils out of this. They do have their unique properties as far as how they release paint, which actually comes into play a lot on the gel plate, because that's what I use a lot of my stencils for. And I'm just going to tape this plastic over my drawing, and then what I have is a wood burning tool or a hot knife. And I got this at Walmart for $10, and it came with a lot of different nibs that you can screw into it. And the one that I prefer is this little, very sharp looking one. And this thing is hot. It has burnt a paper napkin already this morning. And I put it in my silicone holster, and it started to burn that. So what I got out is a piece of metal, which happens to be my jewelry anvil. And I'm just going to set it on that to keep it from burning things. My biggest worry is that I'm going to burn through my headset cord.
Yeah, don't do that. we need those headsets.
Stupid things. So I'm just going to tape this down and start cutting. And while I'm doing that, we can see what Peg's going to do.
Okay. I want to say good morning to more people coming in. Good morning, Thea. We're glad you're here. Of course, it's evening for her, so good evening. I want to show you that, not only can you cut them with a hot knife or a X-Acto knife or a utility knife, but you also can use dies and punches. So these are just some stencils that I made using die to create these. And so, this is just that plastic that comes in the school folders, and I've cut it apart and die cut. And so now I have my stencils where I've gotten dual use out of my dies. So I want to show you a couple of different techniques. Now, one of the first things I want to tell you about is I picked up, these were on sale. These are those Jane Davenport American Crafts books, and I wanted to try this because they said it was good for watercolor. So, you know me, I'll give it a try. So I grabbed it and got it. It's shrink wrapped, and I got it home, and of course the binding broke already. So I'll just warn you about this. Probably not the best pick for that, but I did do a little bit of watercolor on here, and it does seem to accept. I was playing with the grandkids' Fang cheap watercolor set and had no good brush or anything, but it does accept the watercolor pretty well. So I've torn pages out of here because I'm going to use the paper, even if the journal isn't so great. And what I've done is I've gessoed one page and left this other one, just the watercolor paper that's in here. I think it's watercolor paper. It's a little bit smoother than your standard watercolor paper, but anyway, the reason I did that is because I want to put some color on here, and I'll just grab a pan with some colors and a brush, and I'm just going to apply some background color here. And I'm working on the gesso side right now. And just blending out some different colors. I'm not too worried about how, oh, I gotta mute my, gotta mute my watch, good grief. Okay, so I've got that down, and I'm gonna pick a stencil. Let's see, let me grab, don't want to take too much time doing this. I want something with a little texture pattern. Should probably get a bigger one. That's not big enough to cover the whole thing. Here we go. That's a nice big one. Put this down, and I'm going to spritz this with water. If I can get my, okay, that's not working. I got another one. That's better. Okay, so this has paint and water on it, and I'm just going to take those same paints that I had, and I'm going to apply it to the non, and you see right away how this is soaking into the paper. That's because there's no gesso on here. So you're going to use more paint if you do not gesso your page. So I have the color down, and I'm going to grab a paper towel, and I'm just going to soak that up where the water went through the stencil.
Hello, Marilyn and Barbara.
I'm going to flip to the other side. Over here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to spritz it with water. So you can see the difference between a gessoed page and a non-gessoed page. So I'm spritzing with the water. This gesso is still resisting here. So I'm going to grab my paper towel, and I'm just going to wipe back a little bit. And get a textural thing going there, and then I'm going to come over here and do what we did on the other page. And what you'll see is that the paint has soaked in to the page on this side, so you're not going to get as much of this white appearance on this side because the paper has accepted the paint, although you will get a more subtle effect. So it depends on the effect that you're looking for with your stencil, which you would do. Okay, so you can see it's there. And I'm just going to take another paper towel and blot. So I guess that's technique number one. And you can
Technique number one.
see the difference between the two sides here. How's it going for you, Shell?
I'm cutting. I'm going to want to show it a little bit.
Okay.
So the weird thing about this tip is that it comes to a very sharp point, but then it has this weird hump on the back of it. I wish there was one that was just a straight sharp point, but there isn't. So I have to pay attention to not have like blowouts around the edges of my lines. And it's a good idea to be able to twist as you're going and cutting. And basically, I want to drag this way because it doesn't work to try to cut it this way. The tip's too sharp, but I don't want that fat part to hit the plastic if I can help it. So I'm just kind of like holding it like a pen and dragging enough of that tip that the heat is hitting the plastic and cutting it, but not so much that I'm getting little weird bumps on the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going along my drawn edges. If you were doing something like buildings or something where you would be cutting out a whole chunk, you do have to pay attention to making sure that there are connectors or else you're just going to end up with a square. Like if you want to, like a building with windows or something like that, you could end up very easily messing that up on your first try unless you really give it a lot of thought about where the insides of the shape are going to connect to the outside of the plastic.
So true. I have done that.
Yeah. So that's why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
I have done that too.
Good
Things
morning,
like
Barb.
leaves and stuff like that. Sometimes your design does not work out the way you think it's going to.
Yeah, exactly right.
But once this plastic is cut, then I just take I'm just using an X-Acto knife because it's easy, and I just slide under the plastic and kind of try to pull it away if there's a place that it's not separated. And then that's how I get the guts out of my stencils.
Cool.
Yeah. So,
and Marie and Barb are both here. Good morning. Glad
also,
you're joining us.
These little stencil guts, you can do something with them too. Like on the gel plates and stuff, you can put them on there and make them into masks. So if they're at all interesting shapes, you probably want to save them. So did you come up with technique number 2?
Well, I'm just putting some Distress Oxide inks down on a piece of paper because, yeah, I think we'll do a little something. I want to say good morning to the people that are coming in. Kathleen has joined us. And let's see, let's get a little bit of fossilized amber. Oops. I love these Distress Oxide inks, in case you didn't know it. They're one of my favorite inks.
I don't think you're alone.
And let's see what else I want on here. Let me get a little bit of marmalade. Brighten that up a little bit.
Marmalade sounds delicious.
Yeah, I haven't had breakfast yet. How about you?
Nope. Had to do my driving thing and all that this morning, and so I didn't have time.
Yeah,
Plus, it's a lot earlier here than it is where you are.
that's true. Well, I was out mowing the grass. You know, I've been gone for a week. When you're gone for a week, the grass is still growing.
It does that, that pesky grass.
So that was my big move for this morning, is we had to get the yard done. Okay, so I have Distress Oxide down, and I have a paper that I already prepared with regular distress inks, like this. These are the distress inks. So that's distress inks on this side, Distress Oxide over here. And if you have other dye-based inks, you can use them also. I'm just showing you a couple that I have here. But, you know, try and use what you have. So I'm going to get a stencil. Let me find something I want to use here. And let me talk a little bit about the difference between a stencil and a mask. A mask is something that you have put over like this and has the opening all the way around it. And a stencil has openings cut within it. So this is masking an area where this would be a stencil.
Yeah, it's all about the positive and negative space. That
Right.
is what.
So let me put my, oh dear.
Cindy has joined us. Hello, Cindy.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Glad you're here. Okay, so let me put my stencil down here on my two different surfaces to see what we get. And there's a number of things that I could do here. I could, actually, let me do a couple of different things on here. I can use different products that are going to pull the color up. I can use modeling paste here on top of this. Sometimes these types of products will pick up some of the color that's underneath. So that's kind of fun because you've got the dual tone thing going on. So let me put a little bit of modeling paste on, and I'll put it on both surfaces so you can see the difference between the two. And go over here on the Distress Oxide side. You can see already that some of the color is starting to come up on my palette knife. So that's kind of fun. And just remember to clean your tools right away. And then up on the top, we're going to do what we did before. I'm going to spritz it with water. There's another one of my homemade stencils where I just die cut. Clean off my palette knife, and I'm going to take my water bottle and I'm going to spritz. This is the Distress oxide, and this is the distress. So we'll let that sit, and you can see the oxidation is happening over here already, and you can see a little bit of the modeling that's going on the distress ink side also. So I'm going to pick this up and put it in the water because I need to clean my stencil. Actually, I should blot that first before I do anything. Grab a towel. And blot that. Now I will pick it up and drop that in the water. And then over in my water pan, I have another little something I've been playing with. So I'll set these aside to dry. And show you what I have here. This is wrapping paper. And this is a magazine page. And what I've done is I've used packing tape on here. And I want to get it started. I put a stencil down in the packing tape, and let me see if I can pull this up off of here. Ah, this one has some metallic in it. Okay, the wrapping paper evidently had a layer of metallic in it, which is interesting. I didn't know that about this particular paper. So not sure how well this is going to work. But I want to pull that paper off the backing. And with the metallic layer there, it's giving me a little bit of a problem. So that one may take some time. But what you get I will fiddle with this while you're watching Shell a little bit, but what you get is, can you see down here through the stencil? When I pull this off of the stencil, I will have a piece of tape that has this on it, and I can use this on my page or tag or whatever I want to do. This one was done with a regular magazine image. Let's see if this one peels better. Oh yeah, this one's peeling right off. And sometimes these turn out cool too. I'm not going to save this right now, but what the packing tape does is it picks up that ink that's on the page and it transfers it. And it's just like any other transfer. If you got some paper there that's getting stuck, just rub it. It'll come off. This is a Paula Phillips technique. If you guys don't know about Journaling Artista, check her out because she has some cool stencils and fun techniques. So now I'm going to pull this up, and you can see, get a clean sheet here, you can see that it has pulled the color from the page, and I can layer that onto something like this that has color down on it already. And get something pretty cool. Get my brayer. And we'll put that down with a brayer. So there's another technique with stencils.
Cool. So I
How's it going?
finished cutting out my stencil.
Oh, cool.
And because this page has those little dots on the edges for you to put it inside of a binder, I put tape on both sides of that because I hate those little dots. Never fails. I try to stencil and then I end up getting dots on the edge. So I'm going to make a page with it, and the base of my page is going to be this gel printed piece of cardstock that's supposed to go in my gel printed journal that I haven't started binding yet. But this one was done with grapefruits and tangerines and made a gel print out of it. So I'm going to make a page on that. And also earlier when we were in the green room, haha, you guys can't see that. I made this. I need something dark behind it. I just cut this piece of leftover plastic into a leaf shape, and then I cut these little leaf bundles shapes so that I can use them in conjunction with my tree. So I'll be able to stencil my tree and then go with these little leaf bundles and add leaves if it's not winter.
Fun.
So, oh, Kathleen has joined us, and Marilyn likes my stencil.
And yes, Fia, I did have those soaking in water. Let me show you how that whole thing works. You just take a page, like anything like this, some advertisement. I mean, this is just something I got in the mail. All right. And then I take my packing tape and
Are those dresses? What the heck is that?
What?
Shirts?
Just, yeah, it's an advertisement for somebody, but it's got,
I can't tell what it is.
It's got stuff on it, you know, it's, you can do it on text too. I mean, you can actually do this on any of this, but this is just, you know, here's a blue jean something. You can do it on whatever you want. I mean, pick colors or text or whatever it is that you want to transfer. Of course, my packing tape doesn't want to cooperate now. There we go. So I just get a piece of packing tape and layer this down on here and leave yourself a little handle like so. And let's get another one if I can get another piece. Anyway, that's what you do. Then you take this whole thing like this and just drop it in a pan of water and let it soak, because what you're going to do is, and I would use a brayer. Oh, yeah, I didn't even put the stencil down. Duh, that was not too bright. What you want to do is, number one, put your stencil down. Okay, put your stencil down, then put your packing tape on.
Good plan.
Duh. Then put your packing tape on. If I can get a hold of it. This is the worst part of it. It's just, where's the end of this tape? Anyway, you would put your tape right over the top of this. You brayer that down so that it sticks, and then you drop that whole thing into the water and you let that soak. And then what you get is this sort of thing, where if it didn't have, if this particular piece of wrapping paper didn't have the metal in it, it would have peeled off. But this metal seems to be giving me more trouble. I should have tried a piece of this before I got on here and did it for you, but I think that I could probably take some tape or something and pull that up to get it started and peel that off. But what you end up with, yeah, what you end up with is something like this over here where it's clear and you can see this. And if I put that over something colorful like the colors on my page, you can see what you get. Okay, I hope that answers your questions.
Sounds good to me. So I've got out my Dina Wakley new paints. I got a new bunch of these 1 ounce. Never had them before. And I've also got some new scribble sticks from Dina Wakley. I also have a bunch of new stencils I could show you guys, but I'll do that later. And I'm going to stencil my tree onto my page using these. And I also put out some, I didn't have a good brown, so I put out some burnt umber. But I have, oh, this isn't the right one. I have Sedona. I could not resist the color Sedona because it is exactly the color of the rocks up in Sedona where I visit often.
Very cool.
And I've got some cheddar, which is like a dull orange. And I'm just going to stencil. So what I like to use to stencil is these artist sponges, and they come looking like this, and I cut them into quarters. And then I just use them over and over and over, as you can see by how dirty they are. And when I get acrylic paint on them, then I just throw them in my water and let them soak until I'm ready to rinse. Another option would be cosmetic sponge or a stencil brush. A lot of people use stencil brushes to stipple on the colors, and I might use any one of those at any time. But I'm going to start out with some of this burnt umber and Sedona mix and just start down here at the roots. When I was drawing my tree, I was very careful to make sure there was roots because it really bugs me when things aren't grounded, and trees need roots or else how can they grow? So it seems to be working pretty well, my stencil so far. The interesting thing that I've noticed about these stencils made out of this particular dollar store plastic is that if you leave them dirty like I do, I don't clean hardly ever my stencils unless it's something like texture paste or modeling paste or something like that on there. I don't worry about cleaning it. And so the paint gets dried on there. And these things made out of this particular plastic make the coolest effects with the dried paint when you're gel printing because they just come off in interesting sheets of color rather than just like splotches. And if you guys were watching my whole gel printing series, you saw me use some of my homemade stencils, and that was exactly what was happening. And so you get these interesting extra colors as you're printing. It's really pretty fun. And the regular stencil will kind of do that, you know, one that you store bought, but not to the same effect as this homemade kind of plastic stuff. It's just pretty cool.
Yeah.
Effect. I thought.
Very cool. So I have another stencil. I think this is, I don't know, is this a Stencil Girl one?
Looks like it.
Yeah, Stencil Girl products from, not sure what it says, S25. Oh, well, if it was flipped around the right way, I'd be able to read it. Anyway, another thing that you can do with stencils and your pages out of magazines and things that you get. This is another flyer. I think this probably came from my grocery store. I can sand this down. So I lay a stencil out here and I just, you know, put this over the top of it and it distorts the image by sanding lightly. This is just a, I don't know, probably something I picked up at the discount store for a sanding block. I have some other sanding blocks, so you can use those. You know, just about anything will do. But it gives you cool pieces to work with in collage. Can you guys see that? I really like this in here where you can see the flowers kind of in the background, and this going on here. I just think that's really cool. Okay, so that's another thing that you can do to get collage fodder. And then I have, this is a piece that I had done a deli print pickup from a jelly print with through a stencil, where I just, you know, you put your stencil on your gel plate and you put your deli paper down and it picks up the paint that's down underneath. So this is kind of, you know, more of that collage fodder, but I want to build layers on here. So what I do for that is I will take another stencil, put that down underneath, add this over the top, and then I can use things like my oil pastels, where I can just do a rubbing with oil pastels over the top. I can pick up a stencil brush and some ink, and I can stencil over the top of this with my dirty stencil brush. Yeah. Thought this was washed out, but it wasn't. It's okay, because I'm just making collage fodder, right? So you can see I'm starting to, that's too light a color for you guys to see. Let me get a different one. And if you guys don't know about stencil brushes, this is the classic stencil brush. It had a flat top, so when you were dipping into paint like this, here's my paint pan. If I dip into paint, it picks up this on the end. And then what I do is I swirl it into the brush so that it's down then into the bristles, so that you're not going to get goopy underneath. And then you can swirl on here or you can stipple. Doesn't matter. Everybody has their own technique when it comes to doing this. Both works. So, and what I'm doing then is I'm just building up my layers with different products. And then this, you know, you can die cut it, you can do whatever you want, but this makes good fodder for your pages. The other thing I like to use on here is dry medium. So if I have my chalks, my pan pastels, I can pick up those and a sponge. And what you want to do is once you have put this layer down, you're going to want to spray it with a fixative, but I can just pick up a little bit of the pan pastel and I can do a dry technique on here using pan pastels. And I will use, oh dear, I've got a brain dead day. It's a non-toxic spray that I can use in the studio.
Spectrafix.
Spectrafix. To seal this layer. But there you see, you can use a dry technique. You don't always have to use a wet medium. But think about the mediums that you have already and how you can use it in combination with a stencil, because we all have a lot of stuff that will work with stencils. That's one of the reasons I like them so much. What are you working on, Shell?
Well, I started to fill in my tree. I got my stencil done with the different colors of browns and reds. And then I took the stencil guts and I had some olive, do you know Wakeley paint? And I started to fill in by just laying that little guts of the stencil over my tree and just adding some olive tone. And then remember, I showed you the second stencil that I made, and I have some evergreen and some lime paints over here on my palette. Same little sponge. And this makes it so easy to make the leaves. It is so quick. And I just have a few different bunches of leaves here to use. So I can use that one, or I can use this bigger, fatter one. And I can use this long, skinny one a couple different times to make variation. If you had the same thing over and over and over, you know how that looks. It looks tired and boring. But if you alternate the bit of stencil that you're using, even if it's a repetitive stencil, moving it around a bit, changing the angle makes it a lot more interesting. So once I'm done with the evergreen, then I'll go to the lighter color and do the same thing over here. Start putting in some of the lighter leaves so that I have highlights and shadows between the three different colors of paints that I put on there. And it will completely fill in all the foliage for spring because it's not winter anymore, right?
Yeah, well, we're crossing our fingers, hoping it's not winter anymore. I did mow the grass today, so yeah, I have hope.
And I saw some pictures of your flowers coming out on
Yeah.
the Facebook.
Yeah, the bleeding hearts are actually starting, so I'm pleased that things are starting to pop a little bit.
Yeah, those are gorgeous bleeding hearts. We used to have one of those way back when I was a kid, back in Oregon. We had one of those type of plants. It was my mom's pride and joy. It was hard to
Yeah.
grow. It didn't want to grow very well.
Oh, maybe it was Oregon. They grow
It
like
was
weeds here. I
it
took
was
one
Oregon.
with me. I took one with me over to my daughter's house because they were just starting to come up. And I stuck it in the ground and watered it. And it is blooming over there already. So
Obviously your climate is where they want to be.
yeah, I think it was very happy. It was very happy where it was. So anyway. So I just have a tag here. And what I did is I put some modeling paste that I had colored with some paint through a stencil. And now I'm doing a dry technique over the top of that. Just adding some color into the background through a stencil.
Stencil, stencil, stencil.
That's right. But one thing that you will see here is that when I do this, I tend to stick to the same sort of shapes. You know, if you're doing stenciling and you're doing something that is rectangular or linear, I tend to stick to that rather than going to something that's a flower or organic or free-flowing, you know. It just, to me, it comes together better by doing that. Let's see, I've got a little bit of that in the background now. And I should probably find a Spectrafix before I go and do anything more to this.
It's got to be around there somewhere. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah. So let's see, what's everybody saying here this morning?
I don't know. I've been stenciling my face off.
They say, great technique, Shell.
Oh, thanks. I think I'm pretty happy with my little tree, actually. But since I put it on an orange background, I'm going to have to put oranges on it. It just seems right. So I think I'm going to use this cheddar color and maybe a little bit of Sedona because it's so awesome, and maybe some blushing. Blushing is coral, kind of. I thought it would be, yeah. Does that sound familiar? Are we doing coral?
Yeah, it does sound familiar.
Where is something to make oranges with though? I was gonna use the end of a pencil, but I don't think I have one that has a good eraser on it. I think I just have some that have crappy erasers. Like this one, but it still kind of works. My mom has an orange tree in her backyard.
Oh, does she? That's nice.
Yep, we can grow nice citrus here in Arizona.
I would like to be able to grow citrus. We grow apples and cherries and peaches.
Yum, peaches. Those are my favorite.
But citrus, no. No citrus.
Gotta have a nice hot climate like here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we don't have that.
Well, they come due in the fall, just like the apples. So, and even in the winter. In fact, a friend of ours just brought over a big bag of Meyer lemons from his tree.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's like a cross between an orange and a lemon.
So I have some ink out here in a stencil and a stamp. And if you haven't thought about it before, the stencils make a great resist on here. So I can stamp through a stencil and get another design out of my stamp by using a stencil.
Yep.
Which adds another layer of complexity.
You're so complex.
Yes. No problem. Susie says she's sorry she's late. It's okay.
Mhm.
We're glad you're here.
These videos are always available after the show too, so you can watch it in replay.
Right.
Anytime. Just we appreciate if you're going to do that you give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, even though we're not that great about answering comments on this channel. I noticed.
Oh, we're not that bad either. I think I need
we get to it.
I think we need a, let's do a rusty hinge. I am getting out. These are nice stenciling brushes, and you can just do a easy peasy swipe across your piece with these brushes. And I got a notice in my mail, I think yesterday, that Blitzy had these on sale 50% off, if anybody's interested in this type of a brush. But I tend to keep these types of brushes in a color family. So like if I'm yellow orange here, this one is for my blue family. So I will go to something like, let's do mermaid. No, let's do broken china. No, let's do salty ocean. And I'll.
Hi, Susie. Hi, Bea. They've both arrived.
Bee's here too. Good. Hi.
Except for her name's Bea.
Oh, it's Bea.
Yes. She doesn't care, though. She'll answer to B also because she knows that Americans say it that way sometimes.
Yeah. Typically that spelling would be in American ease.
Yeah. Americanese.
Yeah. Because I do know people with that name that go by that, but Bea, I will have to try to remember. So anyway, you can see that that's another way of lightly applying color is with a stippling brush. And then we of course have sprays. So let me get another stencil. And I like to work from larger to smaller. You may notice that. I'll start off with a large image stencil and then I'll work down to a little bit smaller sized image. And somewhere here I've got something that's linear. Come on. Here we go. So this is a DecoArt Media Spray, which is always fun to use with stencils too. The main thing to remember when you're using these is to clean the nozzle when you're done. And I can spray it and then I can flip it and apply it off of the stencil that way. And then I can come back here and spritz again. And pick that up on some extra paper. And we have yet another layer of stenciling on our tag. Toss that in. And I will clean my nozzle.
Good plan.
Your tree is looking really good, Shell.
Thank you. I started working on the base of it here with some scribble sticks that are supposed to go along with the media, the Dina Wakley media. But I have another new toy, and that is these Stabilo Woodies.
Oh yeah, how do you like those?
I love these. I'm really happy with these. They write really nicely over the acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
They're smooth and soft, and having the wood to grip is
Yeah.
really nice.
Cool.
I'm happy with these. I won't say yet that they're my favorite because I love my Neo colors, and this only comes in a limited palette, whereas the
Uh,
Neo colors come with a lot of colors.
yeah,
But I like these, and I think if I lived wherever these are manufactured, there's probably more. It's just living here, they're imported,
yeah,
which means we have a limited supply of things that this company makes.
that's
They're the same
true.
ones that make the Stabilo all pencils that you see people using all the time on
Hmm.
YouTube. So, and I got my water brush, and I can blend some of this if I want to make it more blendy.
Okay.
They react to water just as quickly as the Stabilo all pencil, these woodies. So um, they're very highly water reactive. I haven't done that much with them yet, but I sure like them. They're cool. I think they're marketed as a child's um, art supply.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Interesting.
so because they're fat. Like a kindergartner can hold them. You want to give kindergartners fat pencils.
Yeah, I like
But
fat pencils.
yeah, I guess you're a kindergartner and you didn't even know it.
Hey, I never got out of kindergarten. Are you kidding?
Hello, Vicky. Vicky has joined us.
Yeah, hi.
People are trickling in, trickling in. So the cardstock that I used to make this print was glossy cardstock on one side, and that is toned down by having the acrylic paint on it. But I don't think that the scribble sticks like it because they're not drawing over it very nicely at all. They're
Oh,
they're really not.
huh.
They don't want to. The Woody doesn't have any trouble with it, but the uh, the scribble sticks are not liking it at all.
That's too bad.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what you're gonna get. This one hasn't been printed on the back side, so it hasn't gotten into the pile of uh, going into the journal yet because they
Yeah,
need to be printed on both sides. I have more printing ideas. I just haven't gotten to it.
sure.
Been kind of in a slump. I just
Yeah, I got to
yeah,
stay home long enough to get something done.
yeah, that would help.
Yeah. Okay. So, what else have we not done? Let's see.
Oh, there's so many things. So many
Oh, oh,
things.
oh, I know what I wanted to do. Let me grab that. I'll be right back.
Okay. Off she went. So I guess you guys can watch me color. I'm using my yellow scribble stick to kind of make a glow in between my leaves here to make it like it's sunny outside. Then I'm just kind of blending it. These little oranges are still wet, so I'm trying to avoid them, but just making kind of a sunny glow instead of a shadow because it's spring and everything is flowers and sunshine. So we don't want to go with boring old shadows. How silly would that be? I might just want to add a little bit more green down here around my roots. Just scribbling because it says scribble on it. If you're looking at it, it says scribble, so that means that you're allowed to scribble.
Okay, did you miss me?
Yeah, you just kind of you dashed off somewhere. We were
I did.
confused.
I did. Well, I had to go to the other end of the room because I wanted to get this stuff. So I wanted to show you something else that I think is pretty cool. All of these things that we have, back from our card making, scrapbooking days. I mean, here is a die cut. Here are like these grunge board letters and things. And when you take these out and use them, you still have all of this left, right? So these make great stencils. And they're great for doodling. So like if I want to take a pen, and these are, I just got these. These are the Perma Opaque pens, and I wanted to give them a try because, you know, I love my Poscas, but I also wanted to have a felt tip because sometimes, you know, the paint kind of blobs up a little bit. And these felt tip ones, I thought might be an answer to the paint blobs. So I got a couple in two different sizes to try out here. And so what I'm doing is just using this design as my stencil, and I'm drawing or doodling around this design on my tag. Which is another use for all that stuff that we
All that
accumulate,
stuff.
right? So you can use the same design, you know, you can use the design for doodling, and then you could use it, the piece that you've cut out, as a component on your work so that, you know, you've got that repetition going. You know how when you create a work of art, sometimes the repeat is as important as anything. Okay, so there you see I have my doodle design drawn on there. And I can come up here and do it again in another spot for my repetition. But I am liking this felt tip on this. It seems to be working very well, and it seems to be going over all of these other mediums very well, which I like, because not everything will work on every medium.
That's for sure.
So I say this is a plus. This is a plus. I like this pen a lot. How's it going over there, Shell?
Good. I've drawn a little nest in my tree. That's why I
Oh,
left that one little section right here kind of
yeah,
open instead of putting another branch. I
yeah,
left it so that you could put a little nest in the tree. And I've got a
cute.
little bluebird, and I used my Stabilo to go around the edge. That was super fast because it's got quite a bit of um, lead,
Hmm.
and so that was really fast to make a border. And I was just thinking I would get out some Posca pens and do a little detailing, maybe put some sort of a quote on here, and this page is done.
Cool.
So from stencil to page, from making your own stencil to page, all in one go.
All in one go.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. I need some paint on this.
Susie says there's no spring in Scotland, and Bea says it's raining in Switzerland.
Oh dear. Yeah.
So you know me, I have to to add my detailing with my Posca pens because it just seems like if I don't, it's just not finished.
Yeah. I do know you. You do like your Posca.
I
I
do.
like my Posca. It's just sometimes, you might be doing something a little bit more detailed and you get this glob.
Yeah. If you're going over something rough, that's the
Yeah.
worst time with
Yeah.
Poscas because you bump over and then it makes a blob and you're like, dang it.
Yeah.
And since you like your texture, you probably get
I do.
globs more often. Yep.
I do like my texture.
Yep.
So that's the hazards of texture, right?
It is. I like texture too, but not all the time. Sometimes I make things that are actually flat. Occasionally. Okay, not very often, but
Too funny.
it could happen, is all I'm saying. Could
Yeah,
happen.
it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah.
And then again, we might just get textural.
It could happen pretty often.
Oh boy. Is anybody else tired today? I am pooped.
I'm tired and I'm hungry, and I've got a lot to do. I'm going to make a cheesecake today
Ooh, nice.
because we're going to celebrate tonight my kid finishing his little college thing.
So worth
To
celebrating. Yes.
It's going to be an airplane mechanic, so it's going to keep all you who are going to fly safe.
That's a good thing because I plan to
Yes.
fly.
So make sure that your plane doesn't fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
And he likes cheesecake. Every dessert that I make, he's such a weird kid. I'm like, here's some dessert, and he's like, that's too sweet. What? Too sweet? Is that even possible?
Oh, I'm sorry. What?
I was saying I'm gonna make a cheesecake because that's about the only dessert that my kid likes.
Oh, yeah.
He says
Well,
everything's too sweet.
the reason I was gone last week was because my granddaughter was winning a world championship cheerleading contest.
Yeah.
So we celebrated. I did her room up. I found some fabric at IKEA that had oranges on it. Her team name is Orange Obsession. So I was decorating everything in orange. And of course, down at Disney where they had the little orange bird. And, I got all the orange candy I could that was wrapped in orange wrappers and put it in a little tin and got her some flowers. And yeah, so she came home and had a little bit of orange obsession in her bedroom. Uh, okay, so
Judging from the pictures I've seen of her, she's got the complexion to wear orange too. Some people just really can't.
she can do bright colors, you bet.
Yeah, she's got kind of a little bit of a darker
Yeah,
complexion. So
yeah.
if you're too pale, you look terrible in orange. It just makes you look like you have jaundice.
Let's see.
So what are you doing? Got something over there?
I was just playing with this tag that I've been layering up. Yeah, you know how it is. You get started on something and you get sidetracked. I was showing them things, wasn't I?
Yeah. Oh look, a butterfly.
Yeah.
Oh look, a squirrel.
Squirrel, squirrel. Yeah. So, well, I probably should have something sort of finished for the
Yeah,
reveal, right?
what are we going to take a picture of if you don't have
Right.
something? Does anybody in the audience have a suggestion for what kind of quote or something I can put on here with my orange tree? The dog is
I
barking.
could sit on there. Not liking that. I think I like them better. Thank you, Bea. Orange blossoms, yes, orange blossoms.
I think I'm about done. I just thought I would put something down here that says something. I'm just not sure what. Ian says, hug a tree and the earth hugs you. I like that. I've been so obsessed with trees lately. You have no idea. I've been drawing them constantly.
Have you?
Yep. I don't know why. I've always liked them, but I
Probably
just
missing them with all your cactus out there.
Yeah. I think this Posca pin's about had it. This white. I think it's done for. But I saw Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, refill a white Posca pin.
She did.
She
What'd she
did
fill it
with
with?
acrylic paint. Just acrylic paint. She had some like really opaque acrylic paint and she thinned it with water and she took the tip off and put that in there and it worked.
I would think you would probably need something a little fluid.
Yeah, I have fluid. I have high flow even in titanium white. It might work, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to get my tape thing. I'll be right back.
Okay. Sounds good. So I'm just finishing up this tag and then I'll show you that other stuff should be about dry. A little bit on the end there. And a little more glue here, and then that'll be done there. I'll just have to put some kind of twine or something in the hole at the top. And we'll call that one finished. Thank you, Fia. All right, so that was doing those for a stencil. What else do I need to do? Because that's kind of like, found objects. Think about all the different found objects that you can use for stenciling. And, anything that's got an opening that you can trace into is going to work for that. What else? We added water and lifted. We used the stencil brushes. We did a flip over. I did not do anything with embossing powder. Do you guys want to see anything with embossing powder, or are you all embossing powdered out? Well, embossing powder has been around for a long time. I've used embossing powder for years, but it also works. Oh, I know I have a product that works through a stencil really good. I need to show that to you. It's a lot better. So here's those two pieces that we started earlier. And the medium is just about dry now, but you can see that the color has soaked up into that light paste. This was with the water on the top, just plain water. And then this was done with the light paste. And you can see that the color is back behind there. So now if I add more color over the top, which I need to dry that if I'm going to do that, it's gonna pop out off of that page. So, and then this was the packing tape transfer through a stencil. So that's kind of fun. Let me get that other product and I'll show you what that looks like.
So I've got my tapes printed and I just barely made it and my machine ran out of tape, but I made it. And I'm putting those on right here. And I'm just going to draw a little Posca line around them so that they stand out a bit from the background.
Okay. That tree is looking pretty cool, Shell.
I think my page is done.
Very neat.
I'll put, what's the date? It's May. Anyone know? I don't have to look on my phone.
It
May
is
10th. May 10th.
Yeah, I should know that. My husband's birthday was yesterday. That's pretty sad when you're thinking, what is today? Okay, so I'm gonna let these dry a little bit more before I put any product on them. But let me show you this stuff. This is Novu. It's a glimmer paste, and it works really nicely with a stencil. Let me grab a stencil here. And I'm just gonna get, you can put it on with a palette knife. I'm just gonna get a little bit on a baby wipe because I don't really want it that thick. I want it to dry. So,
oh, well, that's fun.
Get this off. And then a little bit of this. And I'm just going to apply that with a baby wipe through my stencil. I'm going to get another color so you can see the contrast. This one, does it say what color it is? This one is what? Garnet red. And that other one was sapphire blue. But I know this stuff is from Tonic, and so I know that it's available in other places than just the US. Okay, so I have a little bit of this. And I'm going to apply that here. Get a little shimmery stuff. And then this stuff dries pretty quickly, so you want to make sure you get it cleaned off of your stencil or drop it in some water, which I have some water waiting over here, so it's going to go in the water.
Letty has joined us and also Holly. Hello, guys.
Hi, guys. So, let's see. You guys see the shimmer? Oops, got to get it over here into the camera. It's got kind of a, it'll dry down even more shiny because it's really glittery. But how fun is that?
That is fun. I just discovered something over here too that I'm going to do real quick.
Okay.
When I laid my stencil down and it still had paint on it, I put it on my 12 by 12 plate. I told you I don't clean my stencils, and I just laid it on there because this plate is still sitting out here. I've been using it, and when I pulled it off the stencil like I expected, the paint stuck to the plate. So I can make like a layered print by putting the stencil on it again. And then I'm going to use my 6x6 as a palette, and I'm going to get some colors here. Maybe I'll try my Dina Wakley's again. I got no room when I put the plate on here. It's too big. So let's go with the Sedona and the cheddar again. Bye-bye, Fia. I like these Dina Wakley paints. They're a good thickness, and I like these little squeezy bottles that they come in. It
Yeah.
makes the application of the paint really easy to
Yeah, I
anything. So
liked your tubes too. I was sorry to
yeah,
see the tubes go.
there's still some on Amazon because when I was looking for paints, I saw that they had some 2-ounce tubes.
Oh yeah,
Some
good.
people do, yeah. So some maybe they're still manufacturing and you just don't see them as often or something.
Well, it's not like I need paint right now, but
Yeah, I didn't either. I've never had any Dina Wakley ones, and I just wanted to try them
yeah,
because I wanted to see the consistency and the colors. So
yeah.
I picked some up. So there's my little tree on top of that. And maybe I can add a little bit of spongy with some of this green just to get a little bit of leaves on there, a little bit of idea of leaves anyway. I'm not gonna use the stencil, I'll just use this color to just kind of make an easy spongy effect here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll pick all this up on a print with some paint just for fun.
Just for fun.
Make a little bit of a tree print. Maybe I'll print it on the back of that other page I just finished so that I can put it in my journal. I think I'm actually going to use the method of binding that I saw Bea do with her Crazy Pages journal. It was like a knotting situation, which I need to watch it again, but you might want to watch her.
It sounds fun.
Yeah, it would look really cool, and it looked like you could maybe take it back off again. If you did, like, or you could add to it. I guess that's what it was, is you could add a different day. Like if you had some more pages of some sort, you could add those a different day.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an interesting video that I saw on Bea's channel.
Is that true, Bea? Can you add more later? So I'm putting some of the Marabou crayon on that texturized side of these two pieces. Remember the one I did with Distress Oxide, and the other was just Distress ink. And I'm going to spritz that and try and get that color to run down a little bit to help emphasize those areas that have the paste in it. Don't want it to run too much because then it'll distort the other end. I guess that'll be all right, but you can see what's happening now is I'm getting more of that texture where it is picked up. The light molding paste. Okay, and I need a rag.
It says you can add and remove, and that's why she likes it.
Cool.
Talking about the method of binding that she did.
Yeah. I'll have to watch that.
Yeah. You should.
I'm going to heat this a minute.
Takes really, really long pieces of twine. That's what you use. She used some kind of jute or twine or something, or waxed thread maybe. All right, that's a pretty cool print. Different. It's kind of a shadowy print. And I could even take my stencil again and go over it with a darker color tree right here in the front so that you would have more trees, more like it's like a forest kind of, or something like that. I think I even still have some paint here, so let's do it. I have to jazz this paint up a little bit. I think we're about out of time. Isn't it about time? I don't know.
Sorry, I was drying.
Yes, I could see that.
There we go. Yeah, I need some of that twine you're talking about to put on here. I need to grab something.
Jute or hemp or some sort of natural fibered stuff.
I do have, let's see, I have some sorry ribbon within reach.
Oh, that will work. That's pretty cool. Forest. Can't see the forest for the trees. That can go in my journal. All right. I think we have 3 minutes.
So you're gonna mount that in your journal?
This will be one of my pages.
Uh-huh.
I have all those.
How are you gonna add it? With tape or
I'm
something?
gonna punch and tie it in with twine into this not ginormous book. It's gonna be huge.
Okay. Cool.
This page didn't have a back, so I've now gel printed the back and I can add it in.
All right.
To my book using Bea's method.
There, I used a little sorry ribbon on there. So that's about it for today. It's about all we can fit in.
Yep, I think we've pretty much covered everything that we could possibly. Well, no, there's way more. We could do stencils again next week.
Yeah, we could. We really could.
What are we doing next week? We don't even know. We haven't thought about it.
We'll figure it out.
We're both going to be here next week, so there will be a show next Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Central.
Right.
And we don't know what it is yet, but it will be here.
So I want to thank everybody for being here with us live, and for those that are coming in later and watching, that's great too. We're really happy that you stop by and see what we've been up to.
Yep. And we'll see you guys next week. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, all that stuff.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.